Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Allison Werner, Executive Director of River Alliance of Wisconsin, and we're so pleased to have you join us this afternoon for what we call our River Rat Chat. Often our River Rat Chats are in person as we travel around the state to see all of you in your part of the state and learn about your water issues. Today, we're joining virtually so that we can chat with everybody across the state all at once. Um, just again to mention that if you have any questions, please put those in the chat and we will take time to answer them at the end of the presentation. Um, I want to start first with just thanking you all that are with us today and those that aren't able to be with us that support our organization. We are so appreciative of all of you having the dedication to allow us to work with people and organizations all across the state so that they are empowered to protect and restore all of our waters. So we're very grateful for all of you. Um, our work that we do, River Alliance is over 30 years old. You're going to hear a lot today from our team about persistence and dedication and the long-term work that's needed to protect our waters. Usually our victories aren't quick. This is, work that goes on for many years, if not decades, to make sure we are actively engaging to protect our waters. One of those examples is this year we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the state of Wisconsin's Wild Rivers Law and also the legacy of Dave Martin, who wrote that legislation. Johnson will share a little bit more about our time up at the Wild Rivers Interpretive Center in Florence this year for that celebration. We also celebrated a victory of the spills case, and Mike on our team will share a little bit more of that. We are grateful for the partnership with Midwest Environmental Advocates, who led the amicus brief that represented River Alliance and about half a dozen other partners to stand up for Wisconsin's spills law to make sure our waters are protected from pollution. We also continue to fight for strong PFAS laws to protect our waters while also holding polluters accountable. Mike will give an update on that as well. But one of the things I'm always proud of our organization about is our commitment and support to our local groups all across the state. From river, lake, watershed, and farmer-led councils, there are so many amazing organizations that we provide support to so that they can protect our waters and lands all across the state. We do everything behind the scenes from helping them with things like bylaws and just having a good operating board and all the tools they need, again, to accomplish their mission. So we're very proud of that work and the many coalitions we're part of across the state together. None of our organizations can do this work alone. We accomplish these goals to protect our waters when we work together, and we're very proud of those partnerships. Excuse me. One of those partnerships that's happening in the central part of the state right now is our Central Wisconsin Basin Plan work. This work has been going on for several years and is focused on setting up a new way to manage our waters across the state at a basin level that is truly collaborative, that brings everyone who's involved in decision making around our waters together to look at solutions of how do we manage water in different ways than we've been doing it. Right now, that work is focused on information and data analysis, a governance structure, how do we make decisions together at a basin level, and also water literacy. How do we bring the folks together who care about our water and celebrate and learn about our waters so that we can protect them together? This work has been led by Bill Davis, who just retired in September. We were fortunate to have Bill's leadership on our team for about 6 years. And we're also fortunate that he's going to continue to support the basin work as an independent contractor. So Bill will be carrying this work forward in just a slightly different way. And some of our key partners on that work right now are Wisconsin's Green Fire, Wisconsin Trout Unlimited, Department of Natural Resources, and the North Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, and many, many more. There's over 24 different groups and individuals involved with moving that project forward. I am going to now hand it over to our team members. You're going to hear from them one by one. and they're going to share a little update of their work and importantly, where our work is going forward. And again, we'll then take questions at the end, and please feel free to type them in the chat if they come up while the presentation's going. I should mention, so that lovely photo of our team there on your screen right now is when we were up north not too long ago to learn about manoomin or wild rice. And that is what Johnson is going to start with our program update with. So Johnson, please take it away.
Thank you, Allison. Hey, everybody. For those of you that have not met, I'm Johnson Bridgewater. I am the Water Advocates Organizer for River Alliance of Wisconsin, and I live up at the top of the state. So out my window is the Montreal River and Hurley, Wisconsin. We've had a pretty amazing and full year of advocacy, and I'll start by saying River Alliance believes in the full definition of advocacy in speaking and working for issues of concern. And that goes well beyond, there's a common misconception, and I always hit on this because it's important to me. Advocacy is well beyond lobbying. Lobbying is just one tiny piece of what advocacy is. Advocacy is more than anything connecting with people over issues and then helping them figure out how to address those issues. This year, Wild Rivers, as Allison mentioned, 60th anniversary of the Wild Rivers Law for Wisconsin. And I'll give a little brief overview of what you see on your slide, and then I'll give you a full overview. These are some great photos because this is essentially to me what I think of or what I see in my head when I think of River Alliance, which is groups of people getting together to do things together and make a difference in the world. This year, the 60th anniversary of Wisconsin's Wild Rivers Law. And for those of you who do not know, that law served as the basis for the National Wild Rivers Law. This is an amazing thing to have here at home. And Allison and Stacy and maybe others, we had a team put together a really incredible celebration. They were actually able to go up to Florence County, celebrate this, meet with people and talk about water issues of importance and actually get out and see these wild rivers. Is for us getting out into Wisconsin and claiming that we can work across the whole state is absolutely part of the core of what we do. So my work beyond the Wild Rivers advocacy kind of falls into three larger buckets. River Alliance and myself have a basically 30, as long as we've been in existence, record of mining opposition, also working on wild rivers protection. And a new area of advocacy for us that actually connects to both of those is manoomin or wild rice advocacy. And that is a big project I'll talk about here in a moment that we're excited about. A few things I want to tick off my list because I will forget these are manoomin work has brought Glyphwick tribes, DNR, River Alliance all together with volunteers to discuss wild rice. It has been amazing. But I want to give a shout out to Fund for Lake Michigan really quickly, because as you all know, we're a nonprofit organization. We rely on the generosity of others. And Fund for Lake Michigan, a Wisconsin-based organization dedicated to working on improvement of the Lake Michigan portion in Wisconsin, funded this, and that work turned out really lovely. And where I'm going is it blossomed into some efforts specific to Florence County. So we started the year with this idea that we're going to go celebrate rivers, and we ended the year by actually coming up with plans for built advocacy. So we're going to be working on a permanent display in the Wild River Center as part of our advocacy for wild rice. And I share this because this is how this works. It's hard to describe it because, forgive the pun, but it definitely does flow like a river. And a lot of connections are starting to come back and bring together. So it's hard to describe this all linearly. The highlight of our wild rice work was definitely participating in a rice camp. And rice camp, for those of you that don't know, it has been going on thousands of years, more likely, but definitely hundreds of years. up north when tribal communities would get together seasonally. The wild rice ripens in the fall, and they would get together to harvest that rice. So Rice Camp has a very long history. It does not necessarily have a history of bringing different organizations together. Historically, it was an opportunity for the tribes to get together, and it was college for them. It was church for them. It was social hour for them. We have been very fortunate to be invited to participate in wild rice work in a few spaces. One of them is Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission did a pilot camp this year that was specifically an intertribal, intergenerational rice camp. And this was intentionally an open camp, meaning non-tribal people were also invited. And we'll just say it was incredibly successful. 150 people got together for the whole weekend, 25 different tribes and bands represented, along with, probably the whole host of European backgrounds as well. Um, but I'm sharing all of this because, again, all of these things weave together, and you can't really talk about one without the other. So, um, looking in before I forget to mention what's on your slides here, a big part of this, the weaving that came together started, I believe it was actually 3 years ago, and two of the people at the heart of that, Kathy Smith, who oversees wild rice efforts for Glyphwick. You'll see her in the photo on the screen here. She's actually, that was at the rice camp I mentioned, teaching rice parching to Rad Dad, one of our favorite t-shirts of the weekend. And then you'll see myself with Roger LeBen, who is a Lac Vieux Desert elder. Kathy is Cunard Bay. Roger is a Lac Vieux Desert elder and rice knowledge holder. And this was my first rice camp, and he let me work with him on, you're looking at push poles, which are one of the two tools used for gathering wild rice. And also, again, big thanks to Fun for Lake Michigan. The outward facing piece of this for us is educating the public, and we are excited. We just recently launched our manoomin newsletter. Very happy about this. It is a place to bring together art, culture, science, and live events, and basically give you an opportunity to keep up with everything happening. The wild rice work, you're in the center of it. Northern wild rice, the best of it is specific to Wisconsin, and so we're, extremely honored to be able to participate in this work. So I'll try and go through those three buckets. So mining opposition, wild rivers protection, and manoomin. I've talked a little bit about those second two. The mining opposition, though, is at the heart of our work, and I want to say it. We're on. You can't see this, but there's something that we can share. We built a map that shows where metallic sulfide mining is likely to occur in our region, and we overlaid that with wild rice. And unfortunately, those two geographies line up a little too closely. So a lot of our effort on wild rice grew out of this awareness that to do our mining work, that actually needs to address this big, huge keystone species. But it's also important because this isn't just a keystone species or a food. This is considered a living, sacred being to people that we're working with in the tribal community. And so we feel to honor it as well as we can through this work. And through the work with mining, we've developed new partnerships. So, Water Legacy in Minnesota, Minnesota Environmental Partnership, Friends of the Boundary Waters, Citizens for Clean Lake Superior, Yellow Dog Plains Conservancy, Protect the Porkies, Michigan Environmental Council. Those are just a few of the new groups that we have brought in through these advocacy campaigns. And so, just to give you an example, we're not in this alone. We don't do this work alone, and we do our best to make sure we are working in full partnership um, in all of our work. And I'm sure I've forgotten many things, but I'm going to stop there because I have a tendency to talk too much. But if you have questions, as was shared up front, please do share those for the end, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to switch it. I am talking about one food system. I'm going to switch it over to Mike Tiboris to talk about different food systems. Take it away, Mike.
Hey there. Thanks, Johnson. Mike Taboris. I'm the Agriculture and Water Policy Director here at River Alliance, Wisconsin. Thanks, everybody, for being here to just see the showcase of our really excellent work. We've got a lot accomplished over the last year, and there's a lot more great stuff to come. I'm going to talk about both policy and agriculture. On the policy front, as Allison mentioned at the beginning of the discussion, uh, there was a major Supreme Court case involving the spills law. Spills law historically allowed the DNR to act on any contaminant that is spilled in the environment, even if there isn't necessarily a rule on the books, so that people can be protected in a timely way. And the case that we were part of a coalition that went to the Supreme Court and got a favorable ruling for allows the DNR to act on PFAS contamination, among other things, even without the promulgation of a new rule. And that's pretty important because PFAS as an emerging contaminant is a major hazard for the environment and for people and for public health. And prompt responses to it are extremely important for the affected communities that can't drink their water right now. So here we have a photo in the back of the large coalition, along with Midwest environmental advocates that did all the great work to make that possible to protect our water in the law. The future for PFAS is ongoing and complicated. We know that in a previous legislative session, the legislature promised $125 million to do PFAS cleanup to protect people from that chemical, but has not yet released that money that they promised. And we, along with others, have been pushing them to do exactly that. We hope to see that happen. There is legislation moving on PFAS, trying to offer remedies for and a path forward for doing both protection and cleanup. However, it hasn't made it through the legislature yet. We're waiting to see whether that happens. Mostly what's happening is a discussion about how to protect what they call innocent landowners, that is, people who have PFAS contaminated soil or groundwater, and but aren't responsible for putting that PFAS there and making sure that they are indemnified against responsibility, while making sure that the actual responsible parties that put that chemical into the water are held accountable. And the discussion is sort of about how to define that group. We have been actively communicating with legislators about this, and we have kind of three bottom lines on what we want from them, and we've been very clear about this for any future legislation in PFAS. One is that we want the money that's been promised for cleanup to be released. That $125 million, though inadequate, is a big starting point, and they could release it at any moment and haven't. So that's a demand that we have. We also demand that they don't weaken the spills law. We just won this hard-fought Supreme Court case, and so new legislation that deals with PFAS should not exempt responsible parties from accountability, which would be an end run around the Supreme Court decision. So we don't want that. And then finally, we want to make sure that all the communities that are affected by PFAS contamination have a responsible party and that they're not treated differently from one another. The causes and sources and responses to PFAS contamination are complex, and they change geography to geography. So we want to make sure that every community that's affected by it, even no matter what the source is, has a responsible party to point to. On the agriculture front, the other part of my title, there's a lot happening there too. Over the last couple of years, we've been focusing largely on structural change in agriculture. That is changes, policy changes, and systems changes that imagine a food system in which water contamination is not a product of agriculture, but is, actually improving water quality is something that the food system might also produce. There are ways in which we could move in that direction, and we don't want to just focus on small items that kind of preserve the status quo but don't really change anything. And so one of the areas that we've focused on recently is changes to the way that farm finance works. The idea being that if the normal process of lending and financing farm operations assumed that farmers were doing good quality water protection and rewarded farmers for doing good work on that front, then more people would do it because it's a normal part of their business operation. In other words, the business of farming should presume and prefer water protection. With some funding that we've gotten from the Wisconsin System Foundation, their Forward Agriculture project, and through the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, we are working with the Delta Institute and a couple of others through with some guidance from the Environmental Defense Fund, who started working on this issue quite a couple of years ago, to do some practical steps toward educating and supporting lenders at a local level who are working with conservation to learn as much as possible about conservation and to make the right sorts of connections that allow them to fund and support projects that actually make an improvement on the land. We had our very first workshop using these resources at the Sustainable Agriculture Summit in Anaheim, California, just a few weeks ago. And that had a great reception, including I got to talk to a lot of large national bankers who are very interested in the approach, and a lot of the Environmental Defense Fund folks who were responsible for the research that kind of inspired our program. And I'm going to meet with them again in the next couple of weeks to hash out how we move forward with that. So the next steps will be having more of these workshops and meetings in Wisconsin with lenders and conservation staff at a few key areas in the state. So look forward to that. And then finally, I do still spend a fair amount of time working with farm groups, conservation groups, and farm-focused conservation groups, including, I noticed Ned put in the chat that I'm going to be talking with the Little Friends of Little Lacrosse in a few weeks to help them work on organizational development. That's a thing that we do for all watershed groups, but we're really spending our energy on farm groups to help them become strong, stable, independent organizations that can do the good work that we know that they can do. And I'm really looking forward to working with them. I'm so happy that you're here. And you can see down here in the second photo, us on the Beressa farm, learning about soil health with the rainfall simulator that we've taken to a few other places. So I'm going to hand it over to Ellen Voss to talk about climate and dams.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Mike. I'm Ellen Voss. I'm the Climate Resilience Director here at River Alliance of Wisconsin, and I am coming to you from the Driftless area. I live near Gays Mills. So in a practical sense, my title means that I'm the person on staff that thinks about responsible hydropower and accountability, selective dam removal advocacy, and incorporating nature-based solutions during restoration for climate resilience benefits like flood mitigation. So today I'm going to focus on some of the highlights from my work year, starting with what you see in the bottom right photo there was easily my favorite day of my entire work year. It happened in late August. Excuse me. We organized a paddle trip on the Chippewa River that we hosted with some partners at the DNR and Beaver Creek Reserve. So we were really lucky. We had such a great turnout, and it was a really lovely day on the river. And as I said, one of the hats here that I wear at River Alliance is playing a role in the licensing process for hydropower dams. And so this river is heavily impacted by hydropower, and fully participating in hydro dam relicensing and understanding the full impacts of what that means that these projects have on our rivers can be really hard for people to grasp. So the goal of this paddle was just to connect people to the impacts of hydropower through the lens of freshwater mussels. So I could talk about freshwater mussels for days and days. They are amazing creatures. I saw that Lacey Kitchell is on this call, so I'm really happy about that too. She was on our paddle trip. We had two of the biggest experts on mussels in Wisconsin along with us on that trip, so it was really great to have their expertise. So yeah, instead of covering a lot of miles the day, our point was just to go slow, to stop a lot, to really carefully observe what we could see and look closely for freshwater mussels. These creatures are really the unsung heroes of our river systems, and they're also organisms that really stand to lose the most if we don't prioritize things like water quality and water quantity during relicensing efforts. So, like I said, we had just a really great day, such great conversations, a lot of really great questions. It really is important to connect people to the waters and the resources that we're trying to protect. So it was a really great day, I think, for everybody involved. So the second thing I want to focus on, the highlight of my year was getting to work one-on-one with dam removal advocates around the state and offering support and advice on how to really talk about dam removal in communities because it is kind of a loaded topic for a lot of folks. So in the upper right photo, just as an example of this, is two river advocates in the Manawa community. That's Ben and Nick. They started a group called Friends of the Little Wolf River. As some of you might know, the community of Manawa experienced a really intense rainstorm over the 4th of July holiday back in 2024. And as a result of that, the dam in their community failed. The the mill pond that was the reservoir behind that dam is completely drained. The river has kind of reformed itself through that former mill pond. And right now in that community, they're trying to decide what comes next. So trying to decide, do we need this dam? Does it need to be a hydropower dam? Do we prefer it to be a river now? So it's a community discussion that's ongoing. But it's really exciting to see what's already happening now that dam isn't there anymore. So we're hearing stories of sturgeon coming back and the water's cleaner, and it's just really positive stories of recovery. So hoping that we can work with that community to make sure that not putting the dam back, removing it is on the table of discussion as well. And one of the last highlights I want to share is it's a set of watershed exchange field trips that happened over the course of the summer and into the fall that were the result of just one conversation that happened at a conference a year and a half ago. So back, we were all of us at River Alliance, we were at River Rally in Michigan in 2024, and we had just kind of a chance opportunity to meet someone from the American Flood Coalition during a picnic. And that one discussion led to several follow-up meetings that culminated in this realization that some of the flooding challenges that we're dealing with in the southwest part of Wisconsin especially are very similar to those of Northeast Iowa. And the American Flood Coalition had been working with that group and had come up with some really cool practical solutions for how they can mitigate flood impacts and make them less severe. So the culmination of all of that effort was that in June, this whole group of people from Southwest Wisconsin, so the Coon Creek Community Watershed Council, folks from Vernon County and the Flood Mitigation Alliance, folks from Monroe County, excuse me, traveled to Northeast Iowa to do this giant field trip and see what folks there are doing, practical solutions, like I said, that they've developed working at the whole watershed level. So starting in the headwaters and working all the way down to the confluence. And it's really, it's having really positive impacts in that part of the state. So the converse of that was that in August, that a bunch of people from Iowa, in addition, we had some folks from the Iowa Flood Center as well, got in vehicles and headed to the Coon Creek watershed, which was the site of the first large-scale watershed national project in the nation. So they got to see firsthand some of the challenges that we face in this really challenging landscape for flood mitigation. And we also have this added challenge in that part of the state of all these flood control dams that are set for decommissioning. So the goal is, how can we get the benefits without this built infrastructure of these dams that are starting to fail? Many failed in 2018. So excuse me. And it's really exciting. These conversations are continuing. I continue to sit in on the Flood Mitigation Alliance meetings. that Vernon County hosts every month. And literally last week, the Iowa field trip was referenced at least 5 or 6 times by several folks. So it really left a lasting impression. And it really makes me happy to know that those relationships are continuing. And lastly, I promise this is my last point. I just wanted to mention again that our efforts continue on the Wisconsin neonicotinoid work group. So if you're not familiar, neonics are this group of chemicals that are really heavily used in agriculture. And you might know what they are even if you didn't know what they were called. If you've ever seen a seed coating, soybeans and corn are often coated in, it's like this green or red chemical. Those are neonics. And the problem with them is that they really don't stay where they're put. They're very mobile in the environment, and they're showing up in our groundwater and they're showing up in our surface water. And they're having a lot of really widespread negative impacts, especially on aquatic insects and the bug community at large, especially our pollinators. And so a large chunk of my time this year has been participating in the work group. I co-lead that with folks from Clean Wisconsin and the University of Wisconsin Extension. Excuse me. And our goal is to just try to keep doing education and outreach about this topic so that we can have more responsible use of these chemicals that isn't as damaging to our ecosystems. And so the link to climate resiliency here is that we really can't have a resilient climate without biodiversity, and we are losing biodiversity really quickly with unwise use of chemicals like this. So we continue our work with that as well. So those are my highlights, and I will now pass on the mic to Evan Arnold.
Hey everyone, my name's Evan Arnold. I am the development director at River Alliance. I just want to thank you all again for being here with us today and for all your support. All the work that Allison, Johnson, Mike, and Ellen just described is made possible thanks to supporters like you. As I'm sure you've all seen, today is Giving Tuesday, and River Alliance is trying to raise $20,000 by the end of the day, which will be matched dollar for dollar by a group of supporters to help us reach our goal of $40,000. As of noon, we've raised $15,150. Thanks to everyone who's already made a Giving Tuesday gift. I know that some people here have, because I've seen those come in. That also means we're $4,850 away from our goal. So if you'd like to have your donation to Riverline matched, you can give online on our website, and I think we'll drop a link in the chat as well. We also have a couple other events coming up. Stacey will talk about some of those, but one of them is the Big Share on March 3rd. That's an online giving day put on by Community Shares of Wisconsin. And our Wild and Scenic is coming up. This picture here of the staff and board in front of the Barrymore Theater in Madison, that was the Wild and Scenic Film Festival last year. Stacey will talk about that. And we also have a puzzle coming out soon. It's kind of exciting. New thing for us. We're having them printed from this photo of boaters on the Ohio River during our Fool's Flotilla in June. We were lucky to have a drone photographer stop by the event. His name is Oberon Yagodinsky of OJV Photography. If you're in the Madison area, you may have seen his work on Instagram. This photo was also featured on the cover of Isthmus, Madison's independent nonprofit community newspaper. So keep an eye out for those. We'll let you know when those are available. And now I'll hand it off to our communications director, Stacey Harbaugh.
Yay! Oh, how fun. Well, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I'm Stacey Harbaugh. I'm the communications director for River Alliance of Wisconsin, and it's my job to send you all the emails and also send you lovely publications like our Waterways newsletter. Hopefully most of you got this in the mail in the last week or so. So I think it's still kind of hitting inboxes around the state. But we appreciate our supporters, and we always want to make sure that you have information about our work, including some deep dives into some of the issues that we've talked about today, like, scouting for mussels or, manoomin rice camp. It's a really fun newsletter, and I hope that you get it. But if you need something that gets you by between newsletters, we have a wonderful Word on the Stream email newsletter. I encourage you to sign up for it if you haven't already. But if you're on this call, you probably get them because that's how you got this link. So our emails come out twice a month, and it's really geared to give you more information, reading, some more behind the scenes looks at the kinds of work that we do. Since it's such long-term work, we try to give updates as often as we can about our successes and victories. One thing that we're trying that's new this year that I'm excited about, we really enjoy telling the stories of our water heroes around the state, people, many of whom are in this call right now. We have so many leaders, water advocates, longtime clean water leaders in this call. Hello, it's so nice to see your faces. But, we aren't the kind of group to necessarily have the big gala chicken dinner events. We've done that in the past, but in sort of a new world and a new media landscape, we want to tell the stories of people who are leaders in our state and who are making a difference for our water quality. And so how we've decided to do that is to kind of literally pass the mic. And we've been doing a lot of storytelling over the past few years on our website, and sharing on social media. But this year is different. We've had a long-term partnership and a friendly relationship with a municipal radio station in Monona, Wisconsin called WVMO. It's an award-winning low-power station. One of the founders of that station is on this call right now. Hello, Lindsay. It's good to see you. Hello. And so since we've worked with WVMO off and on for many years, they've been very good at amplifying our local events, and they care a lot about our water being right on the shore of Lake Monona. We decided let's deepen that partnership more. So about once a month, I go in and bring in a guest on the VMO show, which is a talk show, and it's short. It's like a half an hour, so we can't go on and on and on, but we can jump in and cover some real basics about clean water and why it's so important to us. So we've had Lisi Kitchell, who's on the call today. Lisi's been in to talk about the magnificent mussel and why they're amazing. We've had Gina Liberté from the DNR talk about why our lakes have algae. And most recently, I interviewed Sue Swanson, who's the new state geologist, the first female to hold that position. And she's leading the Wisconsin Geological and Natural History Survey. So she came in to talk about where our water comes from and how it moves over the landscape. So it was a lovely conversation, but it was a 101 for a general audience. We're hoping that will help to increase that water literacy and to remind people where our water comes from and why it's so important. So as we do those VMO shows, we share those on our YouTube channel, and the most recent one is up now. And I'd invite you to meet Sue through her voice and learn more about her role as a leader in understanding our water and in women in STEM as well. So finally, I'll talk about the fun. I always get to talk about the fun stuff, upcoming events. Right now, our events are a little Madison centric, but we are hoping to plan some more events around the state into 2026. But just to get us started, Canoecopia is coming back, even though the founder of that event, Darren Bush, is retiring from his career leading Rutabaga paddle sports. The future of that store will continue to be a story to be told, but he's committed to continuing to organize the world's largest paddling expo. So we will once again have a table at Canoecopia, and that's a great time for folks to come and visit with staff and volunteers and find out what we are up to for 2026. Also, the Wild and Scenic Film Festival is coming back, and we're doing it a little differently this year. We're having it a tiny bit later in the year. It's going to be on April 30th at the Barrymore Theater in Madison. But last year, our program to have a video on demand for anybody who's even outside of the Madison area to be able to watch these inspiring films about water. With a partnership with Wisconsin Public Radio, we were able to offer this video on demand for the first time. And I think it was definitely a success. We had a lot more people be able to watch the films. So we're doing that again this year. So anyone who's donated to River Alliance now through like April 29th will be able to have access to that film festival that you could watch in one night at home or over several nights, however you want. It's video on demand. You can do whatever you want. And finally, Fool's Flotilla will return again. The date is Sunday, June 14th. And we would love to see you decorate your boats, much like you see on the images on the screen. We had the Badger Band on one of the, or members of the Badger Band on one of the pontoon boats. That was super fun. And hey, there's Lindsay Wood Davis in his River 30 boat with a nod to our 30th anniversary year. So that will be coming back on Sunday, June 14th. We are looking for volunteers to help with that event, particularly strong paddlers who can help with our safety crew to kind of help, direct traffic in the water. So if you'd like to know about how to register for those events or other events that we have signed up or, coming up in the near future, it will all be in our Word on the Stream email newsletter. And I look forward to putting those together for you every other week and keep you informed. I think that's all I have. So, Allison.
Wonderful. Well, excuse me. I want to thank all the team members for sharing that. Hopefully it came through loud and clear that we have an amazing crew here at River Lions, very dedicated to protecting our waters. And I think you all saw their enthusiasm as well for the work we're doing across the state. And I'm just very fortunate to get to work alongside of them.